Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making a tutorial on how to cut and sew this play suit. So this is the measurements we are working with. Hips of 48, thigh of 31, length of 37, half length of 18 and crotch of 13. As you can see, there is no bust measurement there. That's because everything we are going to be measuring, we are going to be using our hips measurements to measure it. So now that we know the hip measurements we are using, the first thing to do is to fold our fabric according to the largest size of our body measurement, and that's our hip measurement. Then we are going to measure 1 inch from the start of the fabric. This 1 inch is going to serve as our starting point. Then we connect it together with a straight ruler. After that, we are going to measure out our neckline, our back measurement, our shoulder measurement. We are working with shoulder measurements of 16. Divided by 2 is supposed to be 8. But because this is a sleeveless outfit, so we are going to be using 9 inches. So we've measured the 9 inches. The neck width we are using is 3.5 inches. Then from that our shoulder measurement, we came in by 1 inch and we are connecting it already to our neck width, and this is serving as our shoulder slope. Then the next thing is to measure her armhole. The armhole we are working with is 9 inches. So we measure out 9 inches. Now we are going to measure out the our hip measurement divided by 4, that is 12. Then we add 4 inches to it, which is going to be 16 inches. The 4 inches is for ease and sewing allowance. Then we connect our armhole straight to that point using our armhole curve. So the next thing we are going to do now is to measure our half length, which is 18 inches. But we are going to add half-inch joining allowance, and that's going to be 18.5. So we measure 18.5 from our starting point. After measuring that, we are going to connect it together with a straight ruler. Then once we connect it, we are going to measure again our hip measurement at our half length. Remember we said the hip plus 4 inches is allowance and sewing allowance. So we connect it together to our armhole. Then at our shoulder slope, we come up by half an inch, which is going to serve as our joining allowance at the shoulder. Then the next thing to do is to measure our neck depth, and the neck depth we are working with is 3 inches. So we are going to connect that 3 inches, our neck depth, to our neck width. After connecting it, you come down by 4 inches at our neck depth, which is going to serve as the opening at the front. Then we'll cut it out. After cutting out the front panel, we'll go ahead to cut out the back panel. And to do this, we just fold our fabric the same way we folded the front panel. Since there's no zip allowance or button allowance, we fold it the same way we folded our front panel. So we place the front panel on heat and then we trace it out for easy cutting. However, as we all know, the back is going to be higher than the front. The neck depth of the back is going to be higher than the neck depth of the front. So at the neck, we are measuring 2 inches as our neck depth. Then we connect it to our neck width using our front panel as illustration. Then we connect it together and cut it out. So we are practically done with the upper part of our outfit. The next one is the lower part. So to cut the lower part of our outfit, we are going to fold our fabric the same way we folded the upper part. So measure out the length you are working with. Remember we said the length of the cloth is 37. So 37 minus 18 is 19. But we had half an inch for joining at the upper part, then 1 inches for hemming allowance. So we are adding 1.5 inches. So we are going to measure out 20 and half. Then we'll connect it together with a straight ruler. Then the next thing to do is to measure out our hip measurements at the waist. As you can see, the fabric we folded is not enough for our hips measurement, so we refold it again. So we measure out our hip measurement after refolding it. Our hip measurement 16, 12 inch for the normal hip measurement, then 4 inch for the ease allowance and seam allowance. Then after measuring our hip measurement, we go ahead and measure our crotch depth. Our crotch depth is 13 inches. So measure 13 inches across our fabric. So the next thing to do is to measure our hip measurement again on that line, on our crotch depth line. So after measuring our hip measurement on our crotch depth line, we are going to connect it together to the one we measured on our waistline. So after connecting it together, we'll go out by 2.5 inches on our crotch depth line. That is going to serve as our crotch extension. Then we are going to connect it to that straight line that we measured. After connecting it, we measure out our thigh measurements below the crotch depth. Our thigh measurement is 31 divided by 2, 15.5, plus 1 inch, it is going to be 16.5. Then we are going to connect it together with a straight line to the length of our outfit. After connecting it together, the next thing is to cut it out. Now we are done with the front panel. It is time to cut the back panel. I've already placed the front panel on the back panel. On the back panel, you are going to come up by 2 inches at the crotch area. Then you connect it to the side of the front panel. So that's basically the only difference the front panel has from the back panel. Oh, you are going to add 1 inch joining allowance at the side of the front panel. So by default, your crotch extension for the back panel will be longer than that of the front panel. After that, you connect all the lines together and cut out the back panel. So we have cut the upper parts of our outfit and the lower parts of our outfit. The next thing to do is to cut out the facing for the upper parts of our outfit. Make sure that you align the clothes properly when you are cutting out the facing. This way, the facing will not be longer than the fabric, or the fabric will not be longer than the facing. So it will be equal. Then ensure that you have excess after the line. For this outfit, I'm measuring 3 inches as excess. I've cut for the front facing, and this is the back facing that I'm cutting currently. Like I said, you should have excess. So for this one as well, I'm measuring 3 inches below the neckline. So I've gone ahead to sew the facing together with our outfit. I've gone ahead to sew it together and I've given it a good press. I sew it down, but if you don't want to sew yours down, you can as well use Emmy gum to join it together with your fabric. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to join the shoulder and join the side, then hem the sleeve. So this is the final look after joining the shoulder and the sleeve, but I joined one shoulder so that when we want to wear, I'm going to fix button at this other shoulder so that when we want to wear it, it will be easy for us to wear. So we are practically done with the upper part of the outfit. Now it's time for the lower part. We sew the crotch together. After sewing the crotch together, this is the final look. So now I'm going to join them by the side and by the crotch area. Then I will hem it as well. So this is how it looks after joining the lower parts together. The next thing is to join the lower part and the upper parts together. So we are going to align everything, the side seam. We notch the midpoints and align them properly, then we sew them round together. So after I finished with the down parts, I joined it together with the top parts. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the drawstring casing. And to cut out our drawstring casing, we are going to measure our waist. Where we are going to use as our waist is where we joined the upper part and the lower parts together. So we measure our waist. Here is 28 and a half. We multiply that by 2. That's 57. So we are going to measure out 57 inches for our drawstring casing. Measure at 57 inches by 2. That means 57 inches long and 2 inches wide. You can see this cannot be enough for it, so I have to join it together. So when I join it together and when I cut it and join it together, I will bring it to show you guys how it looks. So these are drawstring casing, and the next thing we'll do is to join it together with the half fit. And this is how we are going to do it. At the midpoint, this crotch line is going to serve as our midpoint. So at the midpoint, we are going to fold in a bit like half inch of this, fabric, and place it above where we joined it together, where we joined the upper part and the lower parts together. Then we sew it round till we reach the other side, till we come back here. Then after sewing it round here, then we fold it like this, go over to the down parts, then fold it in again and place it at the lower parts, then we sew it round. I hope you guys get what I explained now. In case you don't get it, let me explain again. When you want to fix the drawstring casing to your outfit, you fold in half an inch of the drawstring casing that you measured. Then you place it at the midpoint, which the crotch line is serving as the midpoint. So you place it at the midpoint, a little bit above, like half an inch above that joining where you joined the lower part to the upper part. Then you will sew it round. After sewing it round, then you now flip it like this, fold it inward down here, and sew this part as well down. So it will remain like half an inch in between where you pass the rope through. I hope you understand it now. So now I've already fixed the drawstring casing. As you can see, it's not overlapping. So yours should not overlap as well. If you are seeing it and you see that it's about to overlap, you should cut off the excess before you finish the rest off. But if you follow the method I used to cut it out, it should not overlap. So after that, we are going to insert our rope into the drawstring casing. Use safety pin to do that, to insert the rope. So I've already fixed the rope. Then I will adjust the rope. Then the next thing I'll do is to fix the button on the shoulder, and I'll come and show you the final look of the outfit. So this is the final look of the outfit. Can you see how beautiful it is? You can rock it to the beach or to any casual outing you are going for. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.